Motherhood, Reinventing Myself as a Woman. When I witnessed my boss's ordeal with her newborn and the technicalities of maternity, such as sleep deprivation, the distress of breastfeeding, the concern of the newborn's weight loss, and so forth, I wasn't able to fathom the idea that motherhood had such an arduous outset. Challenging indeed, but only to a certain level, I imagined. I was oblivious that motherhood played games with the mind. From the constant guilt that everything wasn't going as planned and the obsession with the baby's well-being to persistent self-doubt. Since I had moved to Kentucky and only had my husband to help me for a couple of days before he returned to work, I felt like I was starting a new position without any training in a field I had no experience in it. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I didn't feel physically or mentally equipped to bear the long duration of the work period. My mother-in-law gave us massive help by bringing some frozen meals she had prepared, but other than that, I was always tired and a mess, as was my house. Less than a week after starting my new position as a mother, I caught myself sobbing as I cradled my baby. Sitting in the nursing chair, I cried inconsolably. The culprit, the abominable pacifier. Before giving birth, I had read articles about why pacifiers should be avoided. Hence, I decided my daughter would never have one. Little did I know so early in my new role as a mother that so much was about to change, and I still had a lot to learn. As I rocked in the chair, my tears rolled down, joining one another. Combined, they represented the sadness caused by the feelings of failure. How could other mothers do it so well? I didn't think I was good enough, nor did I believe I was fit for the job. It wasn't until later that I found out that the experience was similar to many new moms and families. Nobody talks about it because it is easier to focus on showing off the baby and pretending we've got it all figured it out. It prevents us from dealing with unnecessary outsourced judgment, of which we do plenty on our own. During a visit to the lactation consultant, I was informed that baby Mia wanted to breastfeed so often because I wasn't producing enough milk. She was also using me as a pacifier. I couldn't understand how I could not have realized it. Besides, changing my plans was a lot to ask. I was passionately against formulas or pacifiers. But in that circumstance, for the first time, I realized that I had to learn to let go of having control as a parent. I could no longer make decisions based only on my beliefs, but on what was best for my baby and our family. Going by the book should no longer be a priority. I finally understood that my child, Mia, was no longer a part of me physically. Likewise, I acknowledged that my mind was creating a thunderstorm in a glass of water, but I couldn't help it. There was no arguing with a new mother dealing with so many changes too soon. Feeling like a failure, however, had become ordinary. If I had recorded this on a calendar, failure would be there along with crying, feeling tired, eating cold food, and smelling myself. I had no idea how primitive an individual could become when lacking basic needs. Nevertheless, as the days went by, I could see personal growth, progress. But perhaps the most challenging part was yet to come. While it took me a few months to adjust to the physiological aspects of motherhood, I had never considered that becoming a mother would cause me to lose my identity. It took me years to unravel the facets that portray the mind. Besides, Just like a small gift received wrapped in a big box as a prank, I felt large on the outside, but small on the inside. Parenting is exhilarating indeed. Inevitably, I was in love with my work of art. The problem was, in the meantime, I was losing track of myself. For one, I no longer approved of the reflection I saw in the mirror. My body was misshapen. Worse, the person who resided in it could no longer be found. I wasn't sure how to identify myself as anything other than a mother. Once, a cousin who wasn't a mother said in our family WhatsApp chat that the only thing I knew how to do was to make babies. I should study and get a job. Thankfully, I had already stepped away from diminishing myself by that time. Despite finishing undergraduate school in Brazil with honors for my thesis, once I learned I was expecting, I kindly declined my boss's offer to bring my child to work. I wanted Mia to be a priority because I genuinely believed in being by my child's side every step of the way. Your husband financially supports you, said Mia's godmother, a friend, visiting from Brazil, trying to shame me in front of my spouse. Yet again, luckily, I valued my efforts to be a present mother. Aside from disappointment in her, I felt peace and a sense of pride. I had reached a stage in life where I no longer cared about what others thought of me, nor did I make decisions seeking to impress them. Further, I was proud of my decision to care for my child full-time. And I knew my husband, the only one whose opinion mattered, appreciated, admired, and respected me for that. He never saw himself as supporting me financially. In his view, to this day, we are a team. Nevertheless, for several months I asked myself, how could I manage to be more than just a mom when life was summarized in learning to decode and care for my child, whose survival depended on me? I didn't believe anyone else should be responsible for it. For so long, I had lived in such a sense of urgency. I was a dispatcher trying to understand the emergency being spoken in a language I didn't understand well. I kept telling myself to be patient. It was only a matter of time. And finally, after giving up myself, it felt just right. When my daughter was about to turn 2 years old, my husband and I decided to move to Miami. I was more than ready to expend the energy to take care of myself. I wanted to dress nicely, to take the time to put on makeup. I missed feeling beautiful. It was about time I dedicated time to myself. Inspired by nature and inviting weather, I began to take daily walks once my husband had finished working. The walks were so therapeutic that they turned into runs. Running became my therapy. Alone, with myself, and with God. Eventually, I joined a running club. I began to make friends and have a social life, something I was no longer acquainted with. I met people with different professions and backgrounds, all united by a hobby. Hearing my friends talking about their jobs made me realize that if I had the time to care for my body and soul, I could find time for aspirations. There was so much more to me. A new chapter in my life was about to begin. 6 years later, those friends are like family to me. As parents of grown children, they have helped me to see that self-care also means aligning the path I would like my daughter to follow. I only hope she'll inherit essential mental and physical well-being values as her mirror. If she ever wishes to become a mother, maintaining such habits will allow her to be more prepared for the task. She will be assertive in ways I didn't feel I ever was. While it took me a few years to realize I am capable of managing to be a woman, an individual, an entrepreneur, a writer, a model, a runner, a wife, a good friend, and a present, loving mother all at once, I couldn't be happier for the growth this journey enabled. It was challenging, but I could indeed reinvent myself as a woman. 8 years into motherhood, I no longer feel too large on the outside or too small on the inside. I became the woman I could not possibly have imagined, even in my wildest dreams, a decade ago. It's beyond fulfilling to be a recreation of myself, which I define as one size fits all type of woman. I also know this is just the beginning. So much more is yet to come. Thank you.